My name is Cara Marie Morris, and I want to say thank you for tuning in to the Words in Season podcast. This week, this is an introduction to a new series that I'm going to be talking about what God has given us as a Christian, something that we can offer back to Him that is valuable, something that is meaningful, something that absolutely will never change in how much it means to Him. So thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, you can find more episodes on Apple Podcasts, also on Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. But most importantly, remember that every time that you tune in, that Jesus always has a word in season for you.
When life's got me weary, when I'm feeling tired, just one word in season and my heart comes to life.
So hi, my name is Cara Marie Morris. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. We're going to start talking about material for sacrifice, what God has given me. He has given me everything in Christ Jesus. He's given me back His life and His nature in me when I believed in my heart and confessed with my mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord. So now that He has given me everything, what is my response? My response to Him as a Christian, as a Christ follower, is the same response that Jesus had. Jesus said, "Yes, sir." Jesus said, "I only do what the Father does." He said, "No one takes my life. I willingly lay it down." And so that's what we have the privilege and the honor as a Christian to give our lives back to Him, which is material for sacrifice. So in the Old Testament, we're going to look at a couple of examples throughout this series. God gave Moses the visual of what the tabernacle should be, how they should worship God. And Leviticus 6 and verse 12, it says, "And the fire shall fall upon the altar." They're giving sacrifices to God. "And the fire shall fall upon the altar, and the altar shall be kept burning on it, and it shall not be allowed to go out. And the priest shall burn wood on it every morning, and lay the burnt offerings in order, and he shall burn the fat of the peace offerings. And there the fire shall be continually burning upon the altar, and it shall not go out." So this is how God was using all of these types and shadows, all of these pictures, all of these rituals to point to the Messiah, to point to a day where they would have someone who could come and fulfill this eternally. And of course, we know that person was all God and all man. And Jesus Christ, He came and He fulfilled all of these things. Jesus fulfilled that whenever He died on the cross. That was the altar that He laid His life down on. And then in Leviticus 9, it talks about how the fire came out of the Shekinah glory. It says, "Moses and Aaron went into the tent of meeting, and they went and they came out and they blessed the people. And the glory of the Lord, the Shekinah cloud, appeared to all people as was promised. And there came a fire for the Lord and consumed the burnt offering and the fat on the altar. And when all the people saw it, they shouted and they fell on their faces." So God provided the ability to have a sacrifice, and He also provided the fire. But it was up to that Levitical priesthood, those set apart ones, to keep the fire burning. And we can see that in our own lives as Christians. It is up to us in our lives to keep the fire burning so that we can stay on fire, stay hot for Him, so that we can understand what He's saying, so that all the things, it just burns off. I think about fire, and it's a burning. It burns off all the stuff that doesn't matter. And God He says that He is an all-consuming fire, and He is the one that burns all the things off in our lives, all the things that aren't important, all the things that are trying to get my attention and vying for my time, especially in this season, in the Christmas season. I've told many stories, but I work in retail, and it's so easy to lose track. I was even thinking about it today at work. It's so easy to lose focus and lose track of why it is that we are celebrating Christmas. It's not because of the stuff, even though the stuff, it's not bad. None of the stuff is bad as long as you keep Jesus in the center of it. Unless it's something that points to Him, it means nothing. It means nothing in my life. So I want my entire life to be put on an altar and That is the privilege that God gives us, that he doesn't put us on the altar. We have the privilege to put ourselves on the altar as a living sacrifice. In Romans 12, verses 1 and 2, it says, "And I appeal to you, therefore, brethren, and beg of you, in view of all the mercies of God, to make a decisive dedication of your body, presenting all of your members and faculties as a living sacrifice, holy and devoted and consecrated." That just means set apart. It doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't mean you do everything right. It doesn't mean you've never failed. But what it means is that you know that you're set apart, that this world that we see and that we live in, this is not the end, but that we are holy because he is holy. He is set apart, so he has set us apart. So he's holy, devoted, and consecrated, and well-pleasing, which is your reasonable and rational and intelligent service and spiritual worship. What that means to me, if it's my reasonable and rational and intelligent service to God and my spiritual worship, it means it's going to take a conscious decision of my will, my mind, my will, and my emotions. Of course, as it talks about in 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 18, it says we are spirit, soul, and body. I have a soul. Thank God I'm not my emotions, but my soul is made up of my mind, my will, and my emotions. Then I live in a body, but who I really am, like it says in Genesis 1:26, who I really am is made in the image and likeness of God. I am a spirit, but right now I live in this body, and right now I have a soul, and it's my mind, my will, and my emotions. It's my vision, it's my dreams, it's my plans for the future, it's even my rights. Those are all the material for sacrifice that God has entrusted to me. It says again in verse 12 and verse 1, it says, make a living sacrifice, make a decisive decision, holy, devoted, which is your reasonable and intelligent service and your spiritual worship. So one of the most spiritual worships that I can offer to God is making a decision that I'm going to live a set apart life. That even in my Christmas celebration, even in my words and my actions, how I treat my neighbor, how I treat the customers that I come in contact with work, that is my spiritual worship to God. Because I am, at that point, I am laying myself at the altar and saying, God, just like Mary said, we're coming into this Christmas season, and it's a story that we've read many, many times in Luke 1:37. What did Mary say? She said, words that are impossible unless they are empowered by God's grace and faith. Mary said, be it unto me according to your word. What does that sound like? That sounds like material for sacrifice. So in these next coming episodes, I'm going to talk about what it is and how it is good news for a New Testament believer to lay down our hopes, our dreams, our plans, and to be able to pick up his, because really we're not able to pick up his plans and his dreams and his vision for our lives if our hands are so full of the things of the world, or so full of our own things. Really, when we look at it in the way God sees it, he says, yeah, that's great, or yeah, that may be a good idea, but he's got so much better than anything we can ask, hope, think, dream, or imagine. So in this series, I'm going to talk about what it means to have material for sacrifice. And just like Jesus, just as our example as Christians, what did he do with the most precious thing that God gave him? He gave him the opportunity to come to live on earth as a man, as all God, as all man, with a free will. And what did Jesus do? We look all through John, and John, he says, I lay my life down. I give up my rights. I do only what the Father does. So finally, in John 6 and verse 38, it says, for I have come down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the purpose, and to do the will and the purpose of him who sent me. And that is our heart cry. That is the thing as a Christian, the only thing that will satisfy. It's not more money. It's not ministry. It's not marriage. It's not kids. None of those things, although they can be a gigantic blessing in our lives, that is not what will satisfy our spirit, soul, and body. But being able to give God everything, our mind, our will, our emotions, our body, our past, our future, our family, our finances. That is what God has given us, and we can offer to Him as material for sacrifice. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Words in Season podcast. Feel free to share this on your social media if it's been a blessing to you. But most importantly, remember that every time that you tune in, that Jesus always has a word in season for you.